Ghost, week 10. Morning, buddy. We are 6 minutes late. You have some explaining to do to the fans because I was actually on time today.
Coffee machine was running a little slow, but we're good to go now. So that's what matters. And we needed the morning coffee for this show. We're ready to rock. Some very elite teams on bye this week, but we're still going to get the job done.
Yeah, I like it. I'm all for it. Last week, if you had CJ Stroud, you probably crushed it. Cash games are good for me at GPPs. I was just praying to min cash with Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. Those lineups were solid, but moving on to this week. First game, I mean, we could probably just walk right through it. Actually, let's go position by position. I feel like people are digging that. Let's go QBs. I'm sorry here. Up top, do you have any love for Herbert or Lamar Jackson this week? Both going to be 5% owned or less. Projections are up there, but in terms of value, just doesn't really do it for me. I mean, most quarterbacks on the slate are like 2.8 value, which is points per dollar or above. These guys are both towards the bottom. So is it worth paying up for Lamar or Justin Herbert? My answer is no. What say you?
I agree. I would love to play Justin Herbert. I just wish, I don't know what kind of world I'm imagining right now. I just wish he was 6,700 instead of 7,700. That's the reality of things. I find it really hard to get there at that price. He has the ability to rush, but it's not, it's not a big part of his game. He's not Lamar. And even Lamar at that price, I respect Cleveland's defense a ton. I know Baltimore's at home. Advantage Baltimore. I think they get the job done today. But you're looking at these last couple of weeks, it's bound to flip the script, but the Ravens are putting up 30 plus points week after week after week, and Lamar has one touchdown a game. So that for me is it's a big mood killer when I end up stacking Lamar Jackson with Mark Andrews or Zay Flowers or any one of these guys, and it's Gus Edwards rushing for 4 touchdowns again. That for me was really, really frustrating. So I can't get there.
This game's just going to be slow in place, Cleveland and Baltimore. So I'm not really into it. And then Herbert, it's just tough to pay a premium for him when it's like if you're going to stack him, you're playing Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen with him, and good luck fitting anybody else in. Just no Josh Palmer hurts. Obviously, no Mike Williams for multiple weeks hurts. So
and you want to run it back with. I assume you want to run that back with Amon-Ra. So it's, I don't know. I don't even know if that mathematically works out.
Maybe on the DraftKings Superflex site, you could do that. Those are actually kind of fun. But moving down below 7K, I'm not going to touch CJ Stroud today. I do think Nico Collins is a big part of that offense. I don't think that's reinventing anything. He is their big body receiver that opens things up for Tank Dell, Noah Brown. Robert Woods is back. It's just the ball can go so many different places. It does help if you're into Stroud that Jamar Chase is going to go. Sounds like he's good to go. I don't think he's going to be limited in any way, shape, or form, which leads me to Burrow on the other side. I think Burrow's a great cash game quarterback. He still is drawing the highest ownership on the slate that I'm looking at the moment. It's going to be him and Geno. So for me, I really don't have a lot of interest in Joe Burrow. I think the floor's safe. Play him in cash if you want to do that. I definitely won't talk you off of it. But for 1,000 less, I think Geno's probably just a much safer. I don't even know if I want to say safer, but a much like similar value in terms of quarterback for cash game floors. And 5,800, just getting that extra 1,000 just makes a lot more sense to me. Do you have any interest in Stroud or Burrow, or I guess we can even go Dak up there at 6,700?
I mean, I'm not completely opposed to Stroud. My only concern is that everybody in the field is going to chase what they missed out on last week. But I do agree with you. No Nico Collins is a lot of a bigger problem than what people are making it out to be. But at that same time, on the flip side, you know exactly who you want to stack Stroud with now, right? Because even last week, if you were playing CJ Stroud, I assume that not many people got there with a triple stack. That was a really creative build, going with Schultz, Tank Dell, and Nico Collins. I saw some people even with Noah Brown, like it was a quadruple stack. Like it would have been really hard to get there if you're building by hand. But this week, with no Nico Collins, you kind of end up knowing exactly who you want to stack them with. So I could argue both sides, but for me, I can't do it this week. I feel like everybody's going to chase what they missed out on.
Yeah, I'm with you. Tim, Howell for cash makes my lineup so much better. Geno's cheaper on DraftKings, correct? Howell
Geno is cheaper. He's $100 cheaper, and I think playing the ownership game. We'll talk about Sam Howell in a little bit there, but playing the ownership game in cash games, that's that will always take precedence over, I think this guy's a better play versus this guy. I think this guy's a better matchup than this guy. It's at the end of the day, you got to stay in line with the field. And right now, it looks like everyone's going Burrow or Geno Smith.
Yeah, and I think if we sort by value there at the quarterback position, Geno's going to be top 3, and Howell's probably pretty close too. Let's see where Howell's at. No, not even close to being in the top 3 of value. Yeah, that's Geno Smith all day. And Heineke too. That's gross. We'll talk about that. All right, so no love for Dak. It should be a blowout game. I mean, I think they win by 30. We'll see if they play down to their opponents, but I think they kick the shit out of the Giants at home. It is a statement game for the Dallas Cowboys. They obviously need to win and keep riding the NFC to go to the playoffs and probably play Philly and see what happens there. But moving onward, Jared Goff, 5%. I like him in tournaments. The only concern I have with Jared Goff, and we'll move on to kind of these cheaper guys in the value here that we're showing on the slate, is Detroit's affinity to run the football in the red zone. David Montgomery is back. We know that they're going to, feature him. We're going to see a little bit of Gibbs. Both running backs to me are out of play due to their price, but both good for GPPs, I guess, because no one's going to play them. But really, my slate is kind of built on these value quarterbacks going even lower than Geno Smith. Geno is going to be my cash game quarterback. I know on the podcast I said Jared Goff, but then I saw Geno's ownership go through the roof once that weather seemed to clear. I love, I don't love, but I love what it does to my lineups. Will Levis, Taylor Heineke, and Baker Mayfield were like, I believe, the 3 of the top 4 in values right there, which is just absolutely gross to show. I do like Deshaun Watson at all. No ownership, 5,400. Like, we're throwing out names like Taylor Heineke, Will Levis, Baker Mayfield. Deshaun Watson's right there. The Ravens defense has been amazing and amazing at home. But if there's any weak spot, I think it's their secondary. Do you like going back to Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper this week?
I'm not going to. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not going to myself, no.
All right. Thoughts on the top values up there? So Baker Mayfield, Taylor Heineke, and Will Levis.
Last week with Baker, man, that was, I don't know if everybody actually caught this, but Baker was celebrating. I forget it was if it was with Otton or Godwin, but threw a touchdown and he ended up celebrating in the end zone. And CJ Stroud quickly took note of that. I absolutely love this kid.
Dude, CJ Stroud marched them down the field in 45
He marches
seconds.
them down the field, ice cold, no expression on his face. Everyone's like basically like jumping on the guy's shoulder pads, ice cold. This guy goes to the end zone with Tank Dell and just stares at the Bucks bench and does the exact same celebration as Baker Mayfield. So absolutely love that play, but I know Baker was on the wrong side of that, but a guy like that over his career, whether it be at college or in the NFL, he does get fired up after something like that happens to him and he's on the wrong side of it. So it's a little narrative game. We like to have fun with what we're doing, but at the same time, the analytics do really like this matchup versus Tennessee. They got a really stout run defense. Rachaad White is a good running back, but he's far from prime Le'Veon Bell. He's far from 2023 Christian McCaffrey, anything like that. So the Bucs are going to have to move the ball through the air, and I think Baker is going to have to get the job done there. At 5,100, it can't really hurt you at all, and you know exactly who you're stacking.
Yeah, and in terms of player props too, the market does like him. I think he's in the mid 240s. So in terms of this slate, that is in the top 5 of passing yards expected. So
no, what it's worth, it moved up too. That got bumped over 10 yards over the course of the week. I know that happens a lot with quarterbacks, but for what it's worth, it did get bumped up over 10 yards over the week.
Love it. All right. So those are pretty much the quarterbacks. I don't think we need to talk about Kenny Pickett or Tommy DeVito. Let's go to running backs. Up top, Christian McCaffrey, you could always play him. We're not going to talk about him. Same with Austin Eckler if you want to. It is a stout run defense in Detroit, but Austin Eckler is more of a wide receiver who gets goal line carries. So there's always standalone value in him. We do got a quick question here. Let's hit it. Taysom Hill or Tyler Lockett?
I really like Tyler Lockett today. We're going to talk about wide receivers in a bit, but I really like Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, go to Tyler Lockett. No doubt about that. I'm not considering Taysom Hill. We do have a quarterback question. Ghost, quarterback 7,000 on FanDuel. I'll pull it.
Yeah, let me switch apps. Give me a sec.
I mean, Heineke's got to be right there, right?
Heineke's 7. No, Geno, 6,900 Geno, 6,800 Will Levis, 6,600 Baker Mayfield. Take your pick.
Gino. For cash, at least. Assuming
for cash, it's Gino. For tournaments, I went with close to as close to min price as it gets on FanDuel. Baker Mayfield.
Nice. All right. I have no love for Alvin Kamara this week. You could always play him, though. You understand the receiving game. Minnesota is a very good run defense. Saquon Barkley is going to run into a brick wall, stacked box all day long. No interest there. My top GPP running back this week. It's early, but it is November. I'm going with Derrick Henry. Thoughts, Ghost?
You had my attention. Now you piqued my curiosity.
I am all in. Not all in, but in my main lineup right now is Will Levis, Derrick Henry, and D-Hop, running it back with Mike Evans on the outside. I'm stacking a game with a total of 38.5 points, so can't wait to see how that works out for me. But Derrick Henry, he's still, I think, 5th in the NFL in rushing yards. Will Levis is checking down to him often. I think it's like a 27 or 28% target share. I just had that pulled up to Derrick Henry, which I absolutely love. This guy can, Vita Vea is in the inside of Tampa Bay, but they are going to scheme Derrick Henry some way, somehow to get the football. I think this is a great game for him to get over 2.5 receptions. I think this is a great game for, Tennessee to throw the ball. Obviously, it's a pass funnel defense in Tampa Bay. We saw that with CJ Stroud just lighting the world on fire last week. Both corners are banged up on the outside. Jamel Dean, especially for Tampa Bay. I just think that this is a good offensive environment for both teams. Obviously, we mentioned Sean Murphy-Bunting in Tennessee. He is out. So it's like, dude, I don't know how any team gets a stop. And I think Derrick Henry is a very big part of that. And we're used to paying $8K plus for Derrick Henry. So $7,400 and absolutely no ownership. I know that the projections and the value doesn't really say that he's that good of a play, but I'm just going to play the ownership narrative here that Derrick Henry is in the same ballpark as Tony Pollard in scoring, because everybody's going to play Tony Pollard. I'm going to play Tony Pollard in cash, kind of to hedge my GPP self there and get the extra $100 to play Derrick Henry in GPPs. There's a lot of play action in Tennessee now. Tennessee's playing a little faster in terms of pace. Will Levis, I think, has some game. I don't expect him to light the world on fire, but that's why he's 5,100 or 5,300 on DraftKings. And I think Derrick Henry is a key piece. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins, if you're playing Will Levis, you're playing DeAndre Hopkins. We're probably playing DeAndre Hopkins no matter what at 6K on DraftKings. But yeah, Derrick Henry. You don't have to be in. I would not talk you off of it if you're like, you know what, for that salary, I'm just going to take the free square and Tony Pollard in a great matchup. My issue with Pollard is what if they're up 26-0, 27-0 at halftime, and we just see nothing but Deuce Vaughn and Rico Dowdle the rest of the game.
So someone could clip this and put it on Old Takes Exposed or whatever it's called on Twitter there, but that's the life of a GPP player. Tony Pollard
has not been a good life for me this year.
Tony Pollard's not going to have as big of a day as people think. As a longtime suffering Cowboys fan, games like this, it's always Dak going out and trying to throw for 450 and 4. And he's going to run one in himself. And he does this every single year. He plays one of the worst teams in the league. And this year just so happens that, the Giants are struggling, but their quarterback situation is they're far from the worst team in the league. But right now, the Giants are, with absolutely no disrespect to DeVito, but they're probably the worst team playing this week.
Oh, by far. I'm
trying.
They don't have a wide receiver. They don't have anything.
I'm trying to defend them a bit, and I'm trying to defend them a little bit. But yeah, look, I've seen Dak every single year in these games, and he's gonna want to throw for 450 and 4. It's what he does every year. He's gonna want to run one in. He's gonna feed CD. He's gonna get Brandon Cooks going. He's gonna feed Jake Ferguson. It's always like this every single year, and I know Brian can vouch for this, and I see him in chat because he's an Eagles fan, so he keeps up on that division. Dak does this every year because then it's that everlasting loop where, Dak is back to being elite, and then he plays the Eagles next week, and he throws for 132 yards and 3 picks, and Dak is washed and overrated, then he has a good game, and we're right. So right now we're at this point, and we're going to circle back up top next week. So that's what it is. I'm not into Tony Pollard this week at all.
What about Travis Etienne? San Francisco's run defense is actually struggling. They keep going down week after week after week in terms of DVOA. I still trust this defense. They're healthy now coming off the bye. I don't love this game, but Travis Etienne's ownership is over 15%. Another reason why I just feel like I want to find the extra $300 to go to Derrick Henry. But if you're on ETN, I definitely won't talk anybody off him. The guy's usage is through the roof, and he's getting goal line carries these days now. So it seems like the Tank Bigsby experience is
that's
kind of gone to the wayside.
That's over. Yeah, that's over. But it's really hard for me to get there at these prices because I want it. It is the week of the elite wide receivers. We have a slate where Justin Jefferson remains out. We have Tyreek Hill on bye, AJ Brown on bye, Devonta Smith on bye, Travis Kelce at the tight end position, which is essentially the wide receiver one, is on bye. Like it's tough to find game breaking wide receivers on the slate right now, and I want a back and forth between Keenan Allen and Amon-Ra in the majority, if not all, of my lineups. So for me, it's strictly a price thing. It's nothing against ETN. I think he has a good game. Vegas has this one as a really tight game, and whether it be because Jacksonville's at home and San Fran's on the road or not, but Vegas thinks this is a one-score game. So if it is, even with Zay Jones being ruled out, ETN's going to get a couple more looks in the passing game. It's going to boost his floor. So I would play him over Tony Pollard in tournaments. Absolutely. I just don't know if I can get there because of a price.
All right. Going down to the values. All the ownership right here is on Joe Mixon, 6,200. I think it's a fantastic play. The only issue there is like Joe Mixon is not rushing. Like he can't take a 30-yard run to the house. It's just something that he just doesn't do anymore. So Joe Mixon, you're playing him because of the reception value and obviously the red zone equity that he has with all the touchdowns. Like they feed this guy on first, second, and sometimes on third down in the red zone. So plenty of touches there. I'm fine with that. Bijan Robinson should be. I didn't even type his name in the article. I named him He Who Shall Not Be Named. So a little Voldemort for you guys. But dude, if there's any get right spot, it's got to be against Arizona. They are dead last or second to last in run defense DVOA, dead last in pass defense DVOA. This defense sucks. Art Smith, like I feel like he's messing with us at this point when he's like, yeah, Bijan does so much off the ball. Like you didn't draft a guy top 10 overall to just do stuff off the ball. Like
he's talking about him like he's an off-ball shooter in the NBA. Like guy thinks he's got a 2-guard, Duncan Robinson running to the corner.
Yeah, Kyle Korver.
Bro, what is going on here? Off the ball. What off the ball?
Get him the ball.
Give him the ball. What off the ball? Guy's not a spot-up shooter in the NBA.
I think he gets a ton of work.
You think he has Ray Allen in his backfield? I don't understand what's going on, but
I'm in on Bijan Robinson. I'm in on Joe Mixon. I think Kenneth Walker is a fantastic GPP play. He's fully healthy. We know that Washington traded away Montez Sweat and Chase Young. We saw the Patriots. I know it was mainly because of a massive run by Ramondre Stevenson, which helped us a ton last week. We were all in on Ramondre, but they averaged like 7 yards a carry. The Patriots, of all teams, with no offensive line, averaged 7 yards a carry on Washington last week. Washington got beat up in the run the week before. And then we'll get to James Conner here in a moment. But what are your thoughts on Kenneth Walker on the GPP streets when everybody is going to play Geno Smith in this passing game?
I'm torn on this one.
Because we are going to see some Charbonnet.
But that
full disclosure, Kenneth Walker hasn't had 12 touches in 3 weeks.
It's now like 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, ever since their bye, I feel like, or even the week leading up to the bye. Might have even been before that. I have to go and check, but it's been so many weeks in a row now. I feel like since, like, we're not going to count the sub 40%, but I feel like 40% plus since week 3, including their week 5 bye, Charbonnet has outsnapped Kenneth Walker. So like that for me is the one concern. But I want to see them get Charbonnet going, and never ever wish injury upon any professional athlete, no matter how tilted you guys may get on the couch while watching this, but never ever wish injury. But I feel like that's what it's going to take for Charbonnet to really get loose in that backfield, is that Walker's going to have to sit a game out or something. And so for that reason, I'm kind of torn on this backfield, but I feel like the goal line situation is still Kenneth Walker's to lose.
No doubt. Absolutely.
And that's something that when we're playing a $6,800 running back in an offense that's going to put up points today, I really like the back and forth in this game a ton. So
the issue I have with Walker is he's just not going to be very involved in the passing game. When Bijan's cheaper, Mixon's cheaper, and they are going to be involved in the passing game with my DraftKings hat on, obviously, so full PPR.
I was about to say I'll put my FanDuel hat on because I know that we typically split the questions that way. And when we're talking about running backs with touchdown equity, this is someone where it's like, you know what, is he gonna rumble for 150 yards? I hope so. If you guys are playing him, I really hope so for your sake. But I definitely do not think that's the case. But can he rumble for 2 touchdowns? Man, this team's gonna get in the red zone today, and that's why I really like Kenneth Walker on FanDuel more so than DK. The price is tough for me to get there, man. Like I really want these high end wide receivers.
Yeah, in terms of touchdown equity on the slate in itself, it's obviously Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard. I believe Derrick Henry, and then Kenneth Walker are the top 4 for me in terms of touchdown equity. So on FanDuel, that means a lot. James Conner, I'm gonna wait and see. I'm not really in. We love wrestling paving. Ghost, if you could do the ad read real quick, that'd be greatly appreciated. But for me, James Conner, I think it's a great game environment. I think you could stack this game. This total has been. Yes, that is it. Thank you. But yeah, I'm going to be out on James Conner, but I do get it if you want to just fully game stack this game. These are 2 bad defenses. Grady Jarrett on the IR for Atlanta. He's their best run stopper. So it is a good spot for James Conner. It's a good price too, but the guy hasn't played in a while. We know they don't like Keontae Ingram, but yeah, I don't know. For me, Ghost, if we're going below 6K, I have no interest in chalky Rachaad White. He's going to be the highest owned running back on the slate. It looks like he and Joe Mixon. I think you play Rachaad White in cash if you want to go there, but I would much rather have a 5 to 10% owned Alexander Mattison at 5,500, who no one's playing, and the guy's not going to leave the field. James Conner's probably not going to get a full workload. I think Deontay Foreman had like 85 rush yards against New Orleans last week, and they got beat up on the run the week before that. And Etienne, I think, scored 2 or 3 times, which obviously touchdown variance isn't something we want to bank on. But Alexander Mattison should be a guy that gets 3 to 4 catches and 18 plus carries. So I like Alexander Mattison over a guy like James Conner, over Rachaad White, and much more, than Brian Robinson Jr. if anybody's going down there. But in terms of value, 5,500, give me Alexander Mattison.
I thought I would have to sell you on Alexander Madison.
No,
my job here is done. My job here is done.
So you're in.
My job here is done. He's the running back that I have the most exposure to in tournaments. I unfortunately did not catch the show last night, so I did not hear you see this. I was fully expecting to come on here this morning and try and sell you on Alexander Madison, but apparently not.
No, it is. I'm in on that. And then Najee Harris, the other guy that I would mention, 4,900. Issue with Najee Harris, again, like Kenneth Walker, not going to get much work in the passing game, which kind of sucks because he was a passing down back just a year ago and 2 years before that, and was in college too. It's like he's a 3-down back, but they like Warren, and Warren was awesome last week too, so I get it. But Najee Harris at 4,900 has some good implied value inside the red zone, so I like that a lot. But in terms of my favorites, actually we'll do the recap after, but I love Derrick Henry up top. In the middle, I will never talk you off Joe Mixon or Bijan Robinson. Rachaad White, I think, is cash game only for me. Alexander Madison, I think, is just a great value there at 5,500. And then Najee Harris is cheap. I have no interest in Devin Singletary, but I get it. If you need the salary relief, you could play that in FanDuel, I think, but he's just not good. Aaron Jones. We did skip Aaron Jones. Do you have any love for Aaron Jones? I do not.
Not this week. Not this week. That was last week.
Yep, I liked him last week. I just much rather have Bijan Robinson for $500 cheaper. Wide receivers, you touched on Keenan Allen. No one's going to play him, so if you want to get weird, play some Keenan Allen. He's going to get 15 targets. It's going to be an up-paced game. Jamar Chase is healthy and good to go. Tons of ownership. I prefer to go to Amon-Ra St. Brown if I'm paying over 8K for a wide receiver. He's my favorite guy on DraftKings this week for pay-up wide receivers. What do you think on the 8K range and above?
I have a ton of interest here. We're talking about Keenan Allen and nobody playing him. Gone are the days of us playing Keenan Allen at 6,500 to 7K.
That's what blows it for me. I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm just not paying 88. I'm not paying 9K for Keenan Allen.
That was the glory days, but you know what? The guy goes nuts this week. He's going absolutely nuts. Keenan Allen leads the wide receiver position in scoring this week.
That's a great GPP take because no one's playing.
That's my take.
Myself included. I can't pay for him.
That's why
Dude,
I'm doing everything I can to pay for him. Everyone's going to take the same approach.
Oh, dude, Mike Evans
Chargers
is 5%.
are at home. Everybody loves this game. Chargers are at home. They're trusting the passing game, right? And I know a lot of people worry about Goff and his struggles on the road, and
it's a dome, and he used to play.
They're not overpriced. They're not
be
overpriced at all. Herbert and Keenan Allen are not overpriced at all. If you look at the context of this slate, guys, we need game breakers. I'm not playing $7,000 guys like Joe Mixon, man. I'm sorry. I can't do. I want game breakers. I want guys that are I'm gonna look at my lineup and say, if this guy goes nuts, can he put up 25 to 30 DraftKings points? And if I'm clicking on names in the 5K range, like I can't do it. You need to do a stars and scrubs build, at least one in your tournament builds this week. Because if that game goes bonkers, you're not winning any tournaments because you played a one-off Quentin Johnson or Josh Reynolds, or if that game goes nuts and it finishes 38-35, you really think you're going to be sitting there on the couch saying, oh my God, I won $1 million because I stacked Goff with Sam Laporta and Josh Reynolds. If that's the case, I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. No, if that game goes absolutely bonkers, you're going to want Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're going to want the back and forth with Keenan. You're going to want Austin Eckler in your lineups. That's what it is. I see so many people invested in this game, and I'm seeing Josh Reynolds, QJ, Sam Laporta, Gerald Everett. What's going on? You have bona fide superstars in this game, and no one's playing them. But if you're not playing, expensive, then don't play the game at all. That was going to be the last part of what I was saying. If you're getting exposure to this game just to get exposure to this game, and you're playing Demario Davis hoping for a punt return touchdown again, like, guys, it doesn't make sense. You're either playing the studs in this game or you're fading this game entirely and hoping that it doesn't burn you.
That is me. I'm hoping it doesn't burn me. I'm hoping it's all rushing touchdowns.
That is the correct take. You can't say that all these guys are expensive, but I want exposure to the game. I'm gonna play Josh Reynolds. And the game's gonna finish 38-35, but Josh Reynolds is gonna go for 150 yards and 3 touchdowns.
All right. I won't talk you off of it. I think it's a great GPP mindset to be interested in Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra, Austin Eckler, etc. Mike Evans, 7,200 against Christian Fulton. He's got like 7 inches on this dude. I'm in. I love these guys that are under 10% here that are like the mid-upper tier. DK Metcalf against Washington secondary. Remember how we wrote up A.J. Brown a couple weeks ago in this matchup against Washington? DK Metcalf has the second highest target rate against man coverage. Number 1 being who, Ghost? He's got the number 1 target share of everybody, but yeah, A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown has the highest target share against man coverage. Number 2, DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf, 6,800.
The Ole Miss connection.
Go get him. Yeah, dude, they were on the same team, weren't they?
Yeah,
that's gross.
In the same draft.
That's gross.
Fun fact, actually, this is a really
Dawson Knox may have been on that team too. That was a good team.
I think he was actually, but the Patriots. I'm pretty sure in this draft, the Patriots drafted N'Keal Harry in the first round, at the bottom of the first round, and in that second round, you had DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, and so many superstars that are in the game today. So, yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yikes. Yeah. So up top, I love Mike Evans. I love DK Metcalf. I don't really have any interest in paying 7,100 for Ayuk when Debo is back. Chris Olave, 6,400. I think it's a great cash game play. He is in my cash game lineup. The guy just shows up and gets 15 points. I worry about the ceiling, but again, for cash games and the price tag of 6,400, I'm all for that in cash. I really don't have interest in anybody else in the 6K range besides DeAndre Hopkins. And like those 3, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf, DeAndre Hopkins, are pretty much core plays for me. You down with that?
I am. So you're paying up a wide receiver, paying up ish. Like if you're getting 3 of these guys in your lineup, you're not playing the 7K running back range that we were talking about.
Well, I actually am with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry and Bijan are my main running backs.
Okay. So you're punting quarterback everywhere.
Yes. Unfortunately, yes. That is exactly what's happening.
Okay. That makes
I
sense.
don't like it. I don't
That was
like
like,
it.
man, I was like, the math ain't mathing. You're playing
Yeah,
7K
no,
quarterback,
it's
7K running backs, and then you're not punting wide receiver at all. So, okay. I dig it.
Yep. I'm playing those upper mid-tier guys at wide receiver, and I'm punting quarterback, which we'll see how
I'm
that
with it.
goes.
I'm
We'll
with
see
it.
how that goes. But I don't
Well,
advise that. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing. But yeah, those are my favorite wide receivers on the slate outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown is Mike Evans, with absolutely no one in Tennessee secondary that can cover him. You still got to worry about Chris Godwin too, so it's not like he's going to get doubled. And then, yeah, DK Metcalf against absolutely Emmanuel Forbes and Kendall Fuller for Washington. Good luck, man. DK Metcalf has like 6 inches on those guys too. So I'm playing the size guys, and for GPPs makes sense. Like I want guys that can catch a 6-yard bomb and break the slate, do that multiple times. Those guys can do it.
I'm with it.
All right, let's
There's
go
a couple of the guys
to
that I like in that range.
yeah, please do. I'm not playing Lockett, so if you want to talk about Lockett, feel free. But Metcalf's my guy.
Man. I know DK Metcalf. It's nothing against DK Metcalf. I know he's fast. I know the guy. Like he looks like he lives in the gym. I get that, and he's really fast. I get it. But the speed of Tyler Lockett really entices me. Like that's the one thing in this matchup. I really like Tyler Lockett. But that's the rule when you're playing Seattle. If you're not double stacking Geno and you're playing one of them, you have to duplicate the lineup and make it with the other wide receiver. That's what it is. So I do like Lockett, and it's a pretty crowded range. I'd have to recheck ownership here. If he's chalk, I'm going to be completely out. But 6K Christian Kirk, I'll take DeAndre Hopkins 1-to-1, but with no Zay Jones, I think T-Law is going to have to get the ball out quick, man. I know San Fran's defense is quote unquote struggling, at least to their standards in the last couple of weeks, but they're fresh off a bye. That defensive line, man, Jacksonville should be scared. They Nick Bosa's running at you, and I don't know. This defensive unit really scares me. I think T-Law is gonna have to get the ball out much quicker than he thinks. Advantage Christian Kirk in the slot, and especially with Zay Jones out, I think Kirk has double-digit targets today. Whether that results in double-digit receptions is yet to remain to be seen, but I certainly do think that the targets are there. And I'm going right back to the well. 5K Dotson, again, way too cheap. And also at the same time, 5.8K Terry McLaurin. If you're stocking the Seattle side of the football in this one, I think you have a prime run back candidate in either one of those guys. If you're only running it back with one, I'll give Scary Terry the advantage because you want the wide receiver run. And considering he's only 5,800 again on DraftKings, it's a great matchup for this passing game, man. I know Sam Howell and stacking the Washington side of the football is not as sexy as it may be compared to getting DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in your lineup there. And you pair that with a nice value in Geno Smith. But I do really like the Washington side of the football here today. So look at those two guys in that 6K range as well. It's a really crowded range, so you shouldn't be too concerned about somebody being over-owned.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. Good point there. And San Francisco and Jacksonville are both extremely pass funnel defenses. We should see a lot of volume through the air. The issue I have with Jacksonville is there's just so many weapons. I don't know who to pair them with. So if I played T-Law, it's like, do I play Ridley, Ingram, Kirk, ETN? So many different options. What are your thoughts on 5,500 chalk of the chalk Tank Dell? Play him in cash and move on. I have no interest in.
I'm playing look, I'm playing him in cash. I can't get there in tournaments, man. I can't.
Drake London against Marco Wilson is the same price and 2% owned.
So I channeled my inner Stix GBP mentality here, and I took Tank Dell. No. We're gonna start a dialogue. Your obsession with this Atlanta Falcons offense, man.
I don't get it, too. I don't even like them as a team. I don't get it.
We're gonna start a dialogue. But
hey, they were my main lineup until an hour ago, and I switched to the Will Levis situation. So does that make you feel better?
What I will say is that
not doing it.
Instead of playing Tank Dell, I bet his receiving prop over. So okay. I hedged it that way, and I'm playing him in cash because you have to. Guy's gonna be 1,000,000% owned in cash games, but I bet his receiving prop over so that if he goes absolutely bonkers today and CJ Stroud as well, and that whole Houston passing offense, I took a lot of their props. So I hedged it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I'm out on Tank Dell. I think Nico drawing double coverage and safety help over the top frees up a lot for Tank Dell, and that just won't be there this week. Love Drake London, 5,500. No ownership. Deontay Johnson, 5,400. Good cash game play. That's about it for me. I'm not going to play him. Hollywood Brown, 5,200 and 20+% owned. Thoughts on Hollywood Brown? I mean, he gets peppered with targets, is what.
Like, look, I know everyone's thinking it, and it's a pretty funny conversation to start. But Kyler Murray is making his return the same week that Call of Duty ends up releasing. You just can't make this stuff up anymore, man. But yeah, I mean, at 5,200, Hollywood Brown is certainly enticing. I respect Atlanta's defense, man. I know they're on the road here, but I'm taking a wait and see approach with this Arizona offense. I don't know how they're going to look with their first week back with Kyler. I think Kyler is absolutely electric when he's playing the way that he's capable of playing. I think he's one of the most electric running quarterbacks in the league. But at the same time, I am taking the wait and see approach here.
Okay. I'm with it. I mean, Hollywood Brown's in a good spot. He could beat these corners deep. I do think it is pretty good coverage on the outside, though, for Atlanta. So I'm not like dying to go play Hollywood Brown. But at 5,200 for a wide receiver one in a game that should be back and forth, I'm okay with it. Let's go to the values. Tyler Boyd, sub 5% ownership. Is that true?
That's what I see too, and that is one
Jay, his projection just updated. If you want to refresh, I think Boyd last time I just ran the projection.
You can tell right now as you put me on the spot with that question. I don't really know how to react to that. It's Ricky Bobby. I'm not really sure what to do with my hands. No T. Higgins. The matchup is phenomenal in the slot for Tyler Boyd here.
That's Tavir Thomas, right? Dude, Trey Palmer shook him at the end of that last game. The one that he, Ghost, you're gone. You still there, buddy?
I'm still here. There we go.
In Milwaukee. There you go.
I texted you like, I feel like it was like 5 minutes ago now. I was like, man, I'm lagging out with StreamYard for some reason.
You were lagging out, but I could still hear your voice.
Yeah, that's it. That's all that matters. So,
Jay, if you refresh, Boyd is in the 12s now for the projection. Now that I got a slight reduced role for Jamar Chase, but yeah, the model seemed to bump up Tyler Boyd to over 4.5 catches. So yeah, Tyler Boyd 4,600, great value. Dude, Burrow's passing prop still in the 270s, so he's going to throw the ball, and it's not just going to be all Jamar Chase and Trenton Irwin. That's for sure. I think Tyler Boyd's dude, we love Tyler Boyd. We've been talking about him for years, just in terms of like he'd be a very. He's a great wide receiver too, and he's just kind of hidden because T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are so damn good.
And I don't really want to mention them in the same sentence because it's more of a disrespect to Keenan Allen or anything. But he's our like Keenan Allen light version. That's what it is. Like slot receiver can get jiggy out there with some corner routes here and there, but his bread and butter is in the middle of the field. So I absolutely love this matchup for Tyler Boyd, especially with T. Higgins up.
Good prop too. I like that prop. That should be a ladder bet, Jay. Get after it. All right, Michael Thomas is going to play. So if you were into like Rashid Shaheed at 4,300, I think you kind of pumped the brakes a little bit there. Do you have any other love for anybody south of Jackson Smith and Jigba at 4,100, who I think you did mention earlier? That's in a pretty good spot. 10% own though for JSN. I
can't do it. I can't do it.
Too many mouths to feed. No deal. You talked about Quentin Johnson. No love there. Let's go lower. Michael Gallup showed up as a number one value in wide receivers in the model for some reason. So for me, I'm obviously not playing it. I'm going to bet Michael Gallup to score a touchdown. And like you said, Dak's probably going to go nuts because it's New York Giants. You could kill him on the outside of that coverage. Deontay Banks and Adoree. Let's get a Michael Gallup touchdown. Who's got a price check on Michael Gallup to score a touchdown? Where's the best odds, Jay? If you could hook us up, let us know, because I'm going to play Michael Gallup touchdown because I can't just avoid the model's number one value. And it's significantly more like production, like over 1.5 points from Rondale Moore. Do you like Rondale Moore at all?
That was last week.
Yeah. Dude, he almost had a good play. It got called back. I mean, there's just no.
He was stone cold minimum last week. That was the thing.
He's stone cold minimum again this week.
I know, but it's not. It's not like they're getting back prime Megatron, but they're still getting Michael Wilson back, and I'm taking the wait and see approach with this whole offense. That's the deal that I made with myself. I can't go back on my word. I'm not playing any Cardinals this week.
Good discipline. All right, let's go to tight ends. It's pretty easy for me. I'm not paying $6,900 for Mark Andrews. I don't mind Kittle, but still too many mouths to feed now with Debo's back. Kittle's production was much better, obviously, without Debo. I think Sam Laporta is the high-end guy that you could certainly play against the Chargers. They are going to run a good bit of cover two. That is a good coverage advantage for Sam Laporta. I'm not touching Taysom Hill. I know the guy's on an absolute tear. TJ Hawkinson's getting the highest ownership on the slate, which makes sense. I mean, Josh Dobbs pounds the tight end with targets. Great cash game play at 5K. Hawkinson should be closer to 6K, shouldn't he? Even with Dobbs. Like that's a bad price. That's the ownership.
That's
too.
That's a terrible price at 5K. I'm definitely playing TJ Hawkinson. I'm like that's an ownership play that I don't really care about in the 5K range. I'm not playing chalky 5K wide receivers that should be 3,500 and they're wide receiver 4 quality on their team. It's not happening.
Plus 360 for Gallup. Give me 4-1, then I'll take it. Yeah, I don't like those odds, but all right. Dalton Schultz. I think it's a great spot for Dalton Schultz with no Nico Collins. He's going to be sub 5% owned. Cincinnati is one of the worst at covering the tight ends. I believe nut last in DVOA against the tight end. So Dalton Schultz on this slate. I think Philly is nut last, as we saw too last week with Jake Fergie going nuts. He's going to draw some ownership this week. I have no interest in Ferguson. I think he's best left for a back and forth game where Dallas has to throw the ball a ton, i.e. last week. But I do like Dalton Schultz. Evan Ingram, okay. I mean, it is what it is. I just don't like how many mouths they have to feed. Kyle Pitts, I think, is a slate breaker today. But I've been saying that for a long time. So, Ghost, I know you hate to hear it, but 2% on Kyle Pitts. That's pretty sexy. And then Trey McBride, 3,500 for the value punt that everybody's going to play. I'm okay with it. Atlanta does run a good bit of cover two. Kyler abused Zach Ertz against cover two, but this is a different situation because it's not Zach Ertz. So I don't know if these guys are on the same page, but Trey McBride is a hell of a lot more talented and physical than Zach Ertz ever was when Kyler had him. So I get it. I like Trey McBride a little bit for the value. It helps me get those 3 wide receivers I talked about earlier and Derrick Henry.
I like it. I'm not. You guys could still hear me, right? I didn't.
Yeah, you're good. Okay, you're good.
I know it goes hand in hand with your love for the Tennessee Tampa Bay game.
It's not love. It's price. It's price love.
But this is
in the fact that no one's playing that game besides.
In so facto, you get the same show your work, true or false, show your work. We do like that game. Yeah. But Chiggy's running routes at 3K, man. The guy's running routes. The production hasn't exactly been there, but guys run routes, and that's what we like to see from 3K at the tight end position. Guys run routes, and we're hoping this game gets some sneaky shootout appeal. So I'm not completely opposed there. No Treylon Burks, and he is essentially the wide receiver too on that team. So I know that we need DeAndre Hopkins to go absolutely bonkers. We want Mike Evans to go absolutely bonkers in that game, but a little secondary piece there. Chiggy at 3K, Tennessee Titans on the road.
Jay, what book is Gallup? That Gallup touchdown. I'm gonna bet it. If Adoree Jackson's out too, like I don't know who the hell's playing quarter for the Giants. I'm going to Michael Gallup touchdown. All right. Defense, don't really need to talk a whole lot. Like, dude, the Cowboys are probably the safest thing to ever happen. So, I mean, if there's any guarantee of a defense getting you double-digit points, it is this week with the Dallas Cowboys. I love Seattle Seahawks. I don't think I'm going to run it back. I'm not playing any Geno Stacks and GPPs anyway. It's too popular, and I don't see Washington kind of keeping the pace here. I think Seattle's defense runs them off the field. A lot of turnovers, a lot of sacks. Obviously, that's all Sam Howell does is take sacks. So cool with that. I think the Bengals is a good value at 2,800. Minnesota Vikings, 1% owned. You like the Minnesota Vikings at all? Like Derek Carr just doesn't scare me.
You need to get out of my head, man. This is my
Madison and Vikings, a little cheap running back defense correlation.
Yeah. I thought I would have to come on here and talk you into it for like 45 minutes out of an hour show, but
no, dude, I'm in.
There's absolutely nothing left for me to say. But yeah, anyway, the main thing is that I talked about it last week, and I've been talking about the Minnesota backfield situation since like week 1. He's going to catch some footballs, man. And Madison went for a 47. I know he caught 2 for 49, and one of them was like a 45-yard catch. But
65 plus.
Like it's just what it is. I like Madison and Vikings combination there. combination. Derek Carr doesn't scare me at all. Not even a little bit.
Most popular defense on the slate is the Arizona Cardinals. So if you just want net leverage right off the bat, play Atlanta Falcons stacks. But I know I'm not allowed to say that anymore. I'm sorry. Let's do a recap. And I do need that price on Gallup to score a touchdown because it's going to happen. GPP quarterback and cash game quarterback. Ghost, hit me.
Okay, so I'm a little indecisive at the quarterback position for my cash game. Right now I have Dak.
Just play Geno.
Yeah, it's because I really don't want to play Pollard this week, like at all, man. Like not even in cash. But for me, it's gonna be Dak or Geno, and for tournaments, I know you have. I'll leave that game to you, and I know you said that Sam Howell isn't really up there in your projections, but I do like the Washington side of the football.
So you're going with Sam Howell for GPPs?
I'm going with Sam Howell for tournaments.
Okay. I will go cash, Geno, GPPs. It's between Baker or Levis. I'll go Will Levis.
Taking the mailman?
And Heineke. I like Heineke too, but I'm not allowed to talk about him. Yeah, I'm going to go with Will Levis. Let's do it. All right. Running backs, upper tier cash, mid tier cash, upper tier GPP, mid tier GPP. I think I know
upper tier cash.
GPP.
Upper tier cash, unfortunately, is Tony Pollard. I don't like that play at all.
There's nothing wrong with that. The guy's scoring 2 touchdowns. Play Tony Pollard in cash.
No, he's not playing. He's not scoring 2 touchdowns. That could be our chug bet for next week. He's not. Tony Pollard is not.
I'll be at a wedding next week, actually. So I'll chug beers, but I will not be on the live show next week.
Okay, well, in that case, then I'm kind of hoping you lose that bet then, because you do need to be chugging beers at that wedding. But
no doubt.
Upper tier cash is going to be Pollard. Mid tier cash, I'll go with Joe Mixon.
Okay.
And tournaments, I'll leave Thanksgiving legend to you. I'm gonna go with Alexander Madison and Brian Robinson Jr.
Brian Robinson Jr. God, that is gross. All right, cash, I'm going Joe Mixon and Tony Pollard. Tournaments, I'm going Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson. Obviously, we both like Alexander Madison for the price a lot. Wide receivers, upper tier cash, mid tier cash, go.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Love that.
For both, actually, but for cash. And Tank Dell, mid-range cash. Tournaments, Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen leads the wide receiver position scoring today. I planted my flag on that. I'm not abandoning the ship.
I respect that call.
I'm not abandoning the ship. 8,800 Keenan Allen. People will regret fading it at that price. I don't even care. And believe it or not, one of the guys I have the most of, I guess, I don't want to say punt range, but Dodson at 5K and Tyler Boyd 4,600 are the wide receivers I have the most exposure to, sub 5K. So,
nice. All right, I like Tyler Boyd a great deal. I'll go upper tier cash is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Mid tier cash, DeAndre Hopkins at 6K. We'll call it mid tier. Upper K GPPs, Mike Evans. Lower tier GPP, Drake London 5,500. Fuck Tank Dell. I'm sorry. Love your Tank, but no, you do not deserve 10x the ownership of Drake London against Marco Wilson. You just simply don't. Tight ends.
You want to start us off, or you want me to start off?
If I'm paying up at Sam Laporta, I'm probably not going to pay up unless I do make a game stack for that game. Now that you kind of talked me into it, but I will go Kyle Pitts and Trey McBride.
I like it. I'm going Evan Engram.
Oh,
and I'm going Evan Engram. And I'm trying to find one. And Chiggy, 3K is my value. Chiggy.
Okay. I'm down.
So
with
I
that.
see your Will Levis, and I will pair that with my Chiggy for $8,000 on DraftKings.
Sick. All right, yeah. The Fab Five, I believe, is updated. Geno, Olave, Pollard, DeAndre Hopkins, and Mixon in cash. And the GPP core plays, I pretty much gave it out on the stream. D-Hop, Mike Evans, Metcalf, Derrick Henry. But that means you're punting quarterback if you're following me. So if you don't want to do that, I get it 100%. Ghost, good luck this week. Good luck to all of you guys. I need better than
good luck, everyone.
I'm not betting Gallup at 310. Let me check FanDuel real quick. while we're here. All right. Other than that, we'll get out of here. You don't need to hear me price shop live, but good shit. I'm not going to ladder Tyler Boyd. I'm just going to play Tyler Boyd. So if he does well, I will eat that way. I'm not going diving in twice because that scares me a little bit. Good luck to all, and hit us up in Discord, Twitter, all that good stuff. Let's see some green screens at the end of the day.